All right. Good morning, everybody. We are live. We are live a lot earlier today than usual. We are on here doing some pre-market prep this morning. Not necessarily our typical thing, so to speak, but changing it up a little bit this week, spending a little more time pre-market, going through things with you live on stream. And then, depending on how the setups look, we'll stay on to live day trade during market hours, or may hop off. If I don't like the look of the setups for that day. Anyway, this will be what it looks like going forward. So, for those of you that have joined the stream so far, or have joined it in the past, it may have looked a little bit different. But here we are now. So first thing we're going to do is take a look here at ES, our futures for today. We opened up, we opened up yesterday with a nice little gap up. And we've continued to move up since then. As of right now, the market is up 60 points, about 1%. Since Friday's close, and so actually quite a good day to start the week off on. If you look and you pay attention to the crypto markets pumped through the weekend. Bitcoin reclaimed the 74,000 level, which it had not done for I want to say at least a month or two, maybe a bit longer, and so we had a really big weekend, and so kind of excited about what the stock market looks like for us today. Right now, I've got the daily chart up on ES, and I'm just taking a quick peek at our overall trend here. We are still in a bull market until we get below 6,500 on ES. But as far as a bull market goes, that doesn't mean that we will always be moving up. So, first taking a look at the daily chart here on ES, we have a level on the 4-hour chart I marked off here at 67.61. We've got a little bit to the downside here, but mostly now sitting in a bit of this range. We do have a downward trend line that has been in this spot since about January 28th. Excuse me. It's been in this spot since about January 28th, and it's continuing to move down. So this looks like a move up back towards that trend line for now. Taking a look now at the 1-hour chart. Overall, a bit of a bearish trend down here. You could probably justify another trend line starting here from last Wednesday, but I'm not going to do that because I don't really like the overall setup to the bullish side, especially what we're seeing today. The biggest thing that I'll be looking for on ES/SPX is the gap fill. Because we moved up so much, we will have a gap fill back to the downside. We do also have 2 unfilled gaps from last week. We've got this one from 67.40 up to 67.75. And actually, it should be a bit about mid-range here. So somewhere around 6,700 or so, I think, is where we're going to open up on ES. And so we'll have almost 3 gap fills in a very, very tight range. So there's a lot of room for us to move and fill these gaps. This gap here is from a few weeks ago. It started to fill on Friday. I'm actually going to move this down just to match that. So we have this gap fill that's going to be about 20 points. We have the one from close today that's going to be about 60 or 70 points. And then if we move up we've got this one about 30 points from 67.40 or 35 points to 67.75. So those are the gap fills that we have on the docket today, all on SPX. I will be watching all 3 of those gap fills for potential plays today. I do think that we will see at least 1, 2, maybe 3 of them fill. I really like the break and retest of the start of the gap fill level. If we get that, that will really be my entry point for any one of these gap fills. And quite frankly, really only need to catch one of them today to make money. And so if we can catch one, I will be a happy camper. I think it's very likely that we see that. Moving forward, I'm going to start pulling up some individual tickers here. I want to run through those. So go back to the daily chart here. No gaps here on Apple. I don't like this trend line anymore because obviously it did not meet. It did bounce down here. As a matter of fact, the downward trend line looks stronger now that I say that. So I'm actually going to draw that out really quick. I wonder if I can actually extend it out. What it would look like if I actually extend it out from, pardon me. Let's see this here. If we get 3 points. No, we don't quite get 3 points. Oh, yeah, we do get 3 points if we do that. Okay, yeah, I like this. We got a little downward trend line here on the daily chart for Apple. 3-point trend line. Granted, the trend line is sitting at 276, so it's not like we're going to get there today, per se, but at least you know we will have the ability to make that play. Other than that, not watching any clear levels here on Apple. Nothing necessarily very close, so no plays on Apple today. Gonna move to AMD now. AMD, we do have this downward trend line. We do also have a gap fill to the upside above 220 and a gap fill to the downside below 185.5. I'm going to set an alert for that. I don't know if that'll get there today, but if it does, I'll be ready to take the play on it. That gap fill is from October 3rd. October 3rd. It's getting close. It flirted with the start of that gap fill multiple times last week. It did technically fill some of the gap from 200 down to 190, but it did that, you know, back in November and then a little bit more here in early February. So it's been a while, though, since we've really got into this gap for AMD. So below that 186 level or so, I believe that's about 186. Yeah, 186.72 is where we'll see, I think, a big move on AMD further to the downside. Actually, I do want to go back to Apple. I'm sorry, very quickly. I just want to set an alert at the bottom of this level here as well, because I do like below this 242. It's not going to get there today. I'm not worried about that. I'm not watching it today. But I'm going to set an alert just so that I have that for the future. Okay, moving on to Amazon. Amazon has a nice little upward trend line, almost a 3-point touch here. Could break to the low side here. That is at 206 is where that would break right now. I have a key level there. It has room down to 202, 200, and then 196 from there is the swing low of that trend line. It's a fairly decent trend line. I'd actually like to see it bounce off it one more time. If it does, I think then it makes it even stronger for the break play after that. Do still have this gap fill on Amazon to the upside above 226. That is obviously not going to get there today, but Going to keep an eye on that gap fill on it because that's from the daily chart. It's pretty strong gap fill. Looking over here at Google, we have a little bit of a downward trend line here on the daily chart. You can see I've drawn that out here. Just about 3 touch points now. If that breaks it to the upside, that trend line is sitting at basically 307.83 now. If it breaks that to the upside above 310, we could see a clean move into 315 and then 320. I do actually really like this trend line break on Google. I think it's a very, very strong setup. And so that is one that I will keep an eye on. Other than that, Google broke through the 300 a little bit, flirted with that last week, bounced back up over 300. If it drops back below 300, I think it's a pretty clear line down to 295, and then from there, a drop to 290. After there, I think it can find a bounce. I don't know if Google will get much below this 290, 288-ish level that it has here. I want to take a look at the hourly chart, though. A little bit of a downward trend. Okay, all good there. Next one up, Meta. Now, Meta, I know this because I peeked it last night. Meta had a nice little gap fill that formed over the weekend. They announced 20% of their workforce will be laid off. That is what drove this big gap down. So I'm actually going to mark that out on my chart right now. This is probably, in my opinion, the play of the day if we get it. Basically above 629 and into 636. That's a $7 move on Meta. Very, very high probability setup. If you are in tune to the stock market and you are in tune to these AI companies announcing layoffs, then you may be familiar that when that happens, you see a big drop in the stock almost immediately. And then over the next week, it will recover that price and generally bull run further than that. And so I actually sold a bunch of puts on Meta last week as it got down to about the 613 level. Right now it's sitting actually right back at 613. It dropped a little bit more after that. But I think we could see a little bit of a bull run from Meta here that could take us back up to at least 700. There's key levels basically every $10 up until you get there. But the highest probability setup for a day trade is going to be this gap fill right here. If I look at the hourly chart, oh, that's weird. That's interesting. Okay, we squeezed into this gap fill a bit more. I think it's good, though. I still like the level there. Yeah, 629. I still like the level there. It's just weird that it doesn't show it for some reason on the daily chart. That's why. Okay. You know what? Let me adjust this slightly. I'm going to move this gap fill just up to the start here. Yeah, I'm going to watch it from 635 into 638, actually. That's what I will be watching for the gap fill here on Meta. So actually about a $3 move. But very high probability setup there. Okay, moving to Microsoft now. Start with the daily chart. Microsoft not particularly interesting, to be honest, right now. There is a gap fill on Microsoft that's at the basically this 440 level up to 480. It is a real juicy gap fill. We are not there yet. We're not ready to fill that today. We're still about $43 off the opening price of it, but nonetheless, we do have significant room up on Microsoft if and when it gets to that level. Looking at the hourly chart on Microsoft, a little bit of a bearish trend overall last few days, nothing crazy. It's weird. There's quite a bit of tech that's down today after market hours, despite ES and NASDAQ, the futures being up. So it's a little odd, but that is the nature of the beast. You're trading the stock market here. I really like this fill here this 188 to 194 level. So looking at NVIDIA on the daily chart, we had the big drop on February 26th. I believe that was right after I believe that was the earnings drop. We've gone up and tested within that level a handful of times. We capped out at about 187.66. From there, we have room up to 195. And so biggest thing there that we'll be looking for is if it breaks that 187.50 level, can it run into this 195 to the north side? Obviously, I think it can. We will keep an eye on that. No plays today for NVIDIA. Okay, looking at Palantir. God, Palantir has been just a fantastic stock recently. It's found some support here at the 125 at the start of the war before screeching back up to 150. It'll be back up to 200 in no time, to be honest with you. That will happen in 2026. I'm very confident of that. I don't see any situation transpiring that would prevent that from happening. And so, thus, I think that Palantir is going to be an absolutely fantastic trade for the rest of 2026 here. QQQ, keeping an eye. We still have the wick fill at 631 up to 643. Doesn't show it on the daily chart, but if you look at the smaller time frame, you should be able to see it. It's from a little bit further back, so it might be a little. There's the wick right there. See it? 630 to 643. So, been waiting for that to come for a while. And then finally, Tesla. That's the last one we're looking at today. We have a wick fill above 490. It's not anywhere close to there. Tesla's at a really, really key point right now. Tesla has been trending down consistently since late December, and it's not there hasn't been a lot of like strong retests, if you will, to the upside. Excuse me. There has not been a lot of strong retests to the upside on Tesla. I'm a big Tesla bull, but I really don't like the chart on Tesla. I don't love the way it looks. I'm still a believer. I still own a ton of their stock. It's not going anywhere. But we've got to find a way out of this funk that Tesla's been in. 380 is really the bottom support level here. There is a level at 370 and then again at 350, but we're getting real danger level there. What we want to see is maybe a better trend line start to form, a bearish trend line that we can break to the upside. That's going to be what really pushes us back up to all-time highs. I mean, obviously, there's a lot coming this year for Tesla, so plenty of things can change, plenty of time and room for different things to happen, but I will be watching Tesla very, very closely throughout the year just to see if it can break this upward trend line and make that push back up close to 500. And hopefully beyond that, because unfortunately we are not out of the bull run with Tesla until we get beyond that. If you look at the weekly chart too, it doesn't look like consolidation, which is dangerous. So we'll kind of see how it works out with Tesla. But that's kind of what we're looking at. Okay. Over to the trading screen. Here we are. What I'll be watching today is the gap fills on SPX, as we mentioned earlier, and Meta. That is it. Those are my plays for today. I'm going to condense this down to 6 charts here. Put Meta up in the corner here for you, and then the VIX down here. The VIX itself dropped throughout the weekend. Obviously, we increased 59 points on ES. Over the weekend, and so we saw a drop in VIX to about the 25 level, still high, still elevated. VIX is still, just much more elevated than we're used to trading at, and that's because we're in a little bit of time of uncertainty with the war going on, and so we just have to be conscious of that. I think overall, though, we'll see that start to settle back in the next few weeks. I think escalations over this weekend for the war were not akin to escalations of previous weekends of the war. Last thing I'm just going to touch on, and then we will start to trade here today, as we've got market open in 50 seconds, 5-0. Little bit of news today. We have a delayed report of construction spending at 10 a.m. We have PMI tomorrow, Tuesday, import price indexed Wednesday, initial jobless claims Thursday, consumer sentiment Friday. Not a ton of news, and what I mean by that is some days you get 5 or 6 different metrics released. It's basically 1 to 2 metrics every day this week, but they are important news. I think we have... Actually, I don't know when... No, please, excuse me. Thank you. I was wrong about that. My apologies. Monday, industrial production capital capacity use. So we have 9:15 news. That's already came out. Tuesday, pending home sales. Wednesday, I was wondering when FOMC was. Wednesday is FOMC interest rate decision. That's this Wednesday. So morning trading on Wednesday will be a little bit interesting. So big week for news there. All right, market is open. We have our gap on SPX. Let me mark that out. Okay, so that gap is going to go from 66.32 to 66.74. Big gap. Finally, a gap that matches the move on ES. I feel like we have not gotten that at all recently. So I'm happy to see a gap that matches ES for once. We do have the gap fill to the upside above 67.40 on SPX. Obviously, the gap fill to the downside now at 66.72. And so those are the plays that we're watching here on SPX. Meta initially sold off right at open. It dropped from about 632 to 627, or all the way down to 626 in the very first candle of the day. We'll see if it finds some support there for the move up. If not, we will leave the gap fill from the daily chart play up there until tomorrow. Plan for today with the pre-market prep work that we did on stream is to hang out on stream here for about 30 minutes max, maybe a little shorter depending how the market's moving. And I will basically set alerts for the rest of the day if our plays start to get into the ranges that we want. Thank you for joining the stream today. If you've got any questions in the chat, please feel free to shoot those my way, to ask those. Always happy to help and support. I'm trying to figure out how to change the title. Oh, that's tricky. Okay, we're not going to mess with that. Let me get my IBKR open. We're going to get some P&Ls on the screen so you guys can have some fun with us if we do take a trade. Let me know in the chat if you're watching anything else today, you taking any trades yet today, anything you are up to. Give me a shout in the chat. There you go. Big P&L up on the screen now for you. We've been pushing a little bit since open on futures. Both the NASDAQ and ES are in sync on the 2-minute chart and are green. NASDAQ pushing for a high of day, and it did make it through its pre-market high. ES is also getting close to its pre-market high here of 67.54. has not quite gotten over that level yet. I will be watching Meta here for this gap fill few dollar play. I'd like to see a break and retest of the gap fill level in order to get the entry for that play. I am still, by the way, if you are a long time watcher of the stream, I am still in my Twitch dispute. I just owe them 2 documents. I didn't get a chance. I was up in Dallas just for like one night, super quick in and out over the weekend, and so I didn't get a chance to send the documents. But that should get resolved here in the next week or so. We'll be probably back on Twitch, unless you guys really like us on YouTube. Then if you convince me to stay, I'll stay. I can be swayed on that. There's some things I am unwavering on. I am wavering on that. Okay, here we go. Meta is looking to break this 634 level here, and then it's got room to about 638. It's actually a pretty clean move. So clean, I think it could just make it. I'm hoping it doesn't, but I'm hoping we get the break and retest that I'm looking for. But we'll take a look here as it approaches. Contracts overall on Meta actually really not too bad. Meta does have March 16th contracts, so they do have 0 DTE today. So if we do take a Meta trade here, it will be 0 DTE. Which, as you know, more volatile, more risky, so please trade wisely if that's what you do. But anyway, we're here to have fun more than anything. ES did break its high of day by literally 1 tick. NQ had already pushed through its high of day. They are still all in sync right now, NQ and ES. That looks good. SPX has pushed out 2 green 5-minute candles so far since open, distancing itself from the start of the gap fill to the downside from the pre-market, which is good. That's usually a good sign that we can end today green, but granted, we're only 7 minutes into the market. Reversals happen, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. One thing I meant to check. I've got a lot of sold puts. Let's see how those are rocking today. There might be some ones that we have to close out today. Not a day to sell any more puts, though. It is 2 green. Oh, yes. Oh, I love when you look at the portfolio, the long-term portfolio for the first time in a while. Not even a while. Like the first time after a weekend, I should say. And you just get the most amazing green. I'm like, whoa, is it St. Patrick's Day or am I making money? Excuse me, I've had a little tickle in my throat this morning, so apologies for the coughing. Yeah, I've got some Meta. The Meta ones that I sold on Friday actually are up significantly. They are up 35%, and I bought those or sold those only on Friday. So 32% through the weekend is absolutely fantastic to see. Everything's really just rocking right now in the long-term portfolio with how green we are, so that's what we like to see. More than anything, I'd love to see a big, big pump on NVIDIA. And because I do like it above this 188 level, like I said, it'd be super nice if we could get that play today. I don't think we will, but going to keep an eye on it. I want to make sure, too, as we transition into doing the more early stream, as we look to do the earlier stream and start to go over some of the pre-market stuff, I really want to get interactive with some of the questions and things that you guys have. I want to make sure that we're making this as good an experience for you as possible. So that's really the goal here. Big week. We got March Madness. We got St. Patrick's Day. Everything going on tonight. Let's see how we're doing on Twitter. By the way, ES and NQ are now out of sync a little bit. ES is green this candle. NQ is red. Tech is getting pulled down a little bit right now for sure. NASDAQ's a little stronger than ES today. Not right this second, but just it has been, and that's Meta. That's 100% Meta pulling it up today. NVIDIA as well is another big one, but Meta's up the most, 2.64% today. I told you, the market loves layoff news. They hate it at first. It puts a sour taste in people's mouth. The stock drops immediately, and then once they realize, oh, this is great, this is going to cut costs for them. They cut 20% of their workforce. They're going to have the same productivity. Their profits aren't dropping. The company's not failing, right? And they go, crap, this is a great opportunity to buy. And then everybody starts buying, and then you have a $15 jump. That's basically what happens. Part of that $15 jump, of course, though, was filling in the gap from the daily drop, which unfortunately we only got about $4 or $5 left. That's what we were waiting for above 635. We're not there yet. So we're going to keep hanging on for the time being. NVIDIA, really intriguing too. Up pretty big today. I think a lot of that has to do with the meta news as well. Just bullish for AI in general. ES and NQ are pretty badly out of sync now. Last two candles have been opposite on ES and NQ. ES is pushing high of day. NQ is actually rejected away from its high of day. So we are seeing a tale of two indices today. Yes, that is original. I just made that up. NVIDIA also has a very large conference this week, so I think some of the bullishness that you're seeing on NVIDIA today is a result of the conference going on this week. People are excited about what they're doing. There's going to be announcements. I think NVIDIA overall is going to have a green week because of that. Meta was not able to get into the continuation range. It did push right up to it at open here, but couldn't fully get through it. SPX is now above 6,700. We now have a 55-point gap on SPX between ES and SPX. It has been really volatile recently. At some points last week, it was like a 10-point gap, but we seem to have renormalized a bit better. There usually is like a 40, 50-point gap between ES and SPX. ES always leading the way. But yeah, I remember last week we were seeing some weird things with the gap fill. Friday's gap fill made no sense whatsoever. This right here. So it's right here. If you look at this right here, you see where I'm pointing on my screen with my cursor. We jumped up in the pre-market like 40 points, and SPX opened at the same exact level. It was bizarre. And then this whole candle here, this first 5-minute candle, that move was made in the first 1 second of market open, literally. And so it just was not really like, it was. I called it a quasi gap because it basically it gapped, but it I don't know. I don't know if that was like a correction in the SPX price, but SPX has been behaving weird. It looks more normal now, which I like. Still out of sync on ES and NQ. What's up, Joel? Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining. Only watching SPX gap fills, and there's a meta gap fill we're watching for today. Other than that, nothing else. Oh, look at this. Breaking news. Trump to hold a new conference, 11:45 a.m. That's going to be Eastern, so that's 2 hours from now. Trump news conference 2 hours from now. Could be interesting. There was a legitimate tweet this morning. I'm not kidding. There was a tweet this morning from Polymarket. I'm gonna make sure it's still up. Polymarket, as you know, is I think the biggest prediction market. I think they're bigger than Kalshi, but regardless, they're a prediction market. They don't tweet like untrue stuff generally. Okay, so here's the tweet this morning from Polymarket. Breaking. Trump reportedly briefed that Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, is probably gay. That's the tweet. I'm not kidding. Then there was another account that tweeted it and said Trump reportedly briefed that he's gay. And I'm just sitting there like, okay. Like, first of all, how do we even know that? Why does it matter? I mean, it is a little funny. Like, you know, you're fighting this giant war, and like we're talking about the sexual orientation of this dude. But I thought that was kind of interesting. ES, really nice push off this 6760 level. You see I had it marked out from the 4-hour chart. Really, really big push off of that. NASDAQ pushing with it, so we are seeing them get back into sync here. VIX dropping significantly very quickly with this move here. That is... No. Okay, we capped out at lower last Tuesday. I thought it was the low of like the last week or so. Basically, second lowest we've been in the last week on the VIX there. SPX pushing further. It's now about 30 points away from the gap fill to the upside. That's the gap fill from Wednesday or Thursday of last week. 67.40 to 67.75. Volume on futures a little shaky. It's overall I think it's low personally compared to where we've seen it. VIX still dropping here as the market's just ranging here after that initial move up. Now NASDAQ's pushing, ES lagging behind a little bit. Kind of funny to see the polarities in that. I'm trying to see what pushed on the NASDAQ there because Meta did not. Tesla. Okay, Tesla pushed a lot there. Google pushed a little bit there on the NASDAQ push up there. Okay, and NVIDIA a little bit. It wasn't Meta. I was like, what the heck caused that? Because Meta price has just been sitting where it's at here, 627. Yeah, I sold those puts at 613 last week. Really, really nice profit on those so far. That was one of the best opportunities I saw for selling puts in a long, long time. Nicely in sync on NQ and ES here. Big rejection here, both on the NASDAQ and ES. back down to that 67.60 level that I had here. I'm curious to see if it breaks it, if it holds support there. Still pushing down ES and NQ. ES did break back through the 67.60 level. NQ is approaching the 24,900. Not quite sure it'll get through, but we'll see. Meta pushing bit here. Didn't really move back down as NQ and ES sold off there, and now Meta's pushing back up. I'd love to see Tesla keep pushing above this 400 level. It's up about 2% on the day. It's pushed right up to this $400 level, but it has not surpassed it just yet. I think if Meta gets through there, it's going to be really, really good. Meta news, Meta AI protocol, just trading higher after reports. Okay, there's a couple of bits in Meta news. I wanted to see if it was anything significant. It is not. Nebius, NBIS stock ticker up huge, by the way, on the Meta news. That's what I was just reading about. That is I think that's the cloud provider for Meta. NBIS is the ticker. It's up like 15% today because of the news. They had some news that they would pay $27 billion over the next 5 years for access to AI cloud. Fantastic. That's huge. We did hold the 24,900 level at NQ. It is bouncing off of that level right now. ES did technically break the 67.60, but it also did just bounce off that level as well. Microsoft dropping today. That's interesting. Tesla was not able to get above that 400 level just yet. I really want to see Tesla get above 400. Yeah, it's a very tricky day. I mean, I've got minimal plays that I'm watching, and I'm just hanging out right now. You can see I'm staying cash. No P&L on the radar right now. Sometimes I enjoy just being on the sidelines, watching what's happening, keeping myself educated, keeping myself up with what's going on in the market, and being patient. We do have FOMC on Wednesday. Looks bullish, but slightly out of sync. Yeah, I agree with the sentiment there. Yes. But if you look at ES, the levels I've drawn out here, it's a kind of a choppy range here between 67.60 and 68.20. Unfortunately, the stock market has been between this 6,500 and 7,100 level forever, 4 or 5 months. And because of that, it has just, you could justify a level at nearly any dollar amount in that range. You could say there's a level here, level here, level here. Like, you could honestly justify just about anything in that range. And so you really need to look at the larger time frame charts, the 1 hour, 4 hour, 1 day, sometimes even 1 week charts to see if you can find key levels that it can break. But right now, that range is just too choppy for me, so I'm just kind of hanging out, playing gap fills and stuff in that window. Do 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 do. 850, 4848. I did mention it, by the way, earlier in the stream. Bitcoin really scorched over the weekend. So that was kind of cool to see. Still sitting in this 660 range. Don't like the upside leaning towards puts. I'm leaning towards nothing, if I'm being honest with you. I'm leaning towards not taking a trade. I'm leaning towards staying cash today. I'm leaning towards hanging out and learning about the market. I don't really like the upside or the downside unless we get a strong enough move that we're able to fill one of these gaps on SPX that I've been patiently waiting for. Patiently waiting for. Sick. Okay, I needed that to happen. I was trying to close out of some puts I sold. I got an issue with my Charles Schwab account I'm trying to fix. It says it's weird. It says I owe money, but then it also says I don't owe money. I don't owe money. I don't owe anything. It's just weird the way it does it, is all. Another pump here, though. Back up towards 67.70. Want to see what this pump does here for us. This could be the move that we need. We've got about 2.5 minutes now till the top of the hour. Meta is back to being the strongest stock of the day, or strongest of the larger market cap stocks of the day, followed by Tesla and Nvidia. Tesla did, on that last push just there, finally get above 400. Would be absolutely beautiful now to see a proper push on it. Yes, and Q, by the way, new high of day on these 2-minute candles right here. SPX new high of day. SPX now about 22 points from the start of the gap fill from last week, 67.40. Could get interesting. I'm going to watch the market reaction here off of the 10 a.m. hour coming out. And I might be closing out these meta puts I sold on Friday. Insane. Up over 50% now today. I mean, I still think Meta's just going to keep pushing, so that's why I'm kind of just happy to sit here and chill, if you will. Looks like we wicked to the upside here. NQ moving back down. I don't like, even though the last few candles they have ended in sync, I just don't like the fact that they keep falling in and out of sync. It is just, this is a choppy, and dangerous range. I wouldn't even think to take a trade in here. It is not worth it. It really is not worth it. This is not financial advice. You risk your capital as you see fit, but I am just telling you what I am seeing, and the writing is on the wall. Stay the away. Okay, here's the 10 a.m. hour, 10 a.m. Eastern hour. A little bit of a sell-off immediately. Nothing crazy, though, so gonna watch this for a few more minutes here. I think we get dividend modes. Just excuse me, dividend modes. I'm reading something that says streamer mode, and I said dividend mode. I think we get dividends paid on QQQI this week, so I'm excited for that. Should get a nice boost in the portfolio for that. And technically, my shares on that are down about 1%, so I'm going to get the about 2% or so in dividends and end up selling the shares for a small loss to cover a few other things. But I like it, in a good spot. Okay. Volume on futures is terrible. Terrible. That's what I'm going to say. It's terrible. I've got all my alerts set for the gap fill. Oh, no, I have to set one more for here. Excuse me. There's the alert for that gap fill. There's the alert for that gap fill. Okay, sick. All my alerts are set for what I'm watching here today. Meta gap fill, SPX gap fills. I don't like the way today looks at all. I don't like the volume. I don't like the out of sync. I don't like the choppiness. I don't like the range. I'm staying cash. I'm protecting my assets today. This is where we're going to leave it. Tomorrow, we will be back 8 a.m., 8:05-ish. We will be back live on stream, pre-market prep again, going through that stuff, and then trading probably into the early market hours. See if we get a trade tomorrow. Thank you, everybody that joined the stream today, supporting the stream. Thank you, everybody, for participating in the chat. And thank you, everybody, for being traders that love this community and continue to just have fun with us. So